With the Capricorn Clark testimony in the Sean Diddy Combs case, I believe they're using her testimony to tie up how this is a RICO. RICO stands for Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations. So this is typically a law that is targeting organized crimes, and it's targeting things that are like these activities like fraud, kidnapping, murder, drug trafficking, ex trafficking, and that kind of thing. And a lot of times it's used against the mafia, it's used against gangs, it's used for white collar crime, but they're also using this, as we can see, against Diddy. And they are tying together all of the things that we have heard, that we've heard Cassie say in that testimony, and we're using this testimony from Capricorn Clark to tie it all together. So let's see what she has testified to so far. So here's Capricorn Clark. She is a former assistant. She also worked with the Sean John line, and she worked on again, off again with his organization from 2004 to 2018. And she was saying that back in 2011, she was actually kidnapped, and she said that she was threatened. And all of this has to go goes back to the situation that happened with Cassie and Kid Cudi. Like I said, this witness is more to tie in together his behaviors and how this is a RICO. Exactly. This testimony seems to be pushing it out of the realm of just actual exploits and DV to how this is a RICO. This article from NPR does a pretty good rundown on the testimony from Capricorn Clark. Much of Clark's testimony included various claims of physical threats and intimidation allegedly made by Combs and some of his associates was aimed to bolster the racketeering charges against Combs, but some of her most vivid statements were related to Combs' admittedly tumultuous and violent relationship with his then-girlfriend, the singer and model Cassie Ventura. Combs has pled not guilty to all the charges, which include ex-trafficking and transportation to commit prostitution. Here she is depicted on the stand, and here's the supposed picture of Diddy right here. So here's where she's talking about the situation in 2011 with Kid Cudi and Cassie. It says, when testifying about the alleged 2011 kidnapping, Clark described events that the jury had heard last week, this time from her perspective. She said it took place after Combs learned that Ventura, whom he had an on-again, off-again relationship, had begun dating Kid Cudi. Clark, who wept repeatedly on the stand, testified that Combs had come over to her LA apartment door early that evening with a pew-pew. He was knocking on the door with a pew-pew and saying, "We are about to go take out that musician." You know what I mean, unalive that musician. The court artist is kind of out of control with this picture, but this is supposedly Capricorn Clark crying on the stand. So after he came over, knocked on the door with the pew-pew, said, "All right, we're about to go take him out." She was made to get into the car. He went over to Kid Cudi's house, and she was made to actually wait in Combs' car, and he and one of the security guards went up into Kid Cudi's apartment. So like I said, we had already heard from Kid Cudi last week, and he said that he knew that someone had been in his apartment, and this person, Capricorn Clark, is bolstering that claim from Kid Cudi. Like I said, I feel like the prosecution is really trying to tie all of this together. After a chaotic car scene, Clark testified that Combs threatened to unalive her if she went to the authorities, and that he would take all three of them out, Kid Cudi, Cassie, and Clark, if Kid Cudi notified the police that Combs had been in his home. Later that afternoon, she said that she witnessed Combs battering Ventura, kicking her repeatedly in the legs, back and backside as Ventura crouched in the fetal position. And right here, where she's talking about the threats, this is all part to bolster the RICO claim, because threatening people is part of a RICO. Now, she said that she witnessed Ventura being beaten on by Diddy. She said that she couldn't call the cops at the time, but at the time she had actually called Cassie Ventura's mother and told her mother to call the police to get the police involved because the mother could do it. All right, it says, last Thursday, Muscudi, or Kid Cudi, testified to the jury about the break-in and his car being set on fire weeks after this alleged incident involving Clark. Combs' lawyers have denied that the tycoon had anything to do with the arson. While on the stand earlier this month, Ventura testified about the length of physical and actual abuse. Combs' first threat, Clark alleged, came on her very first day of work in 2004. Combs, who knew that Clark had previously worked as an intern for a rival producer and record label executive, Suge Knight, allegedly informed Clark that if she had anything further to do with Knight, he would unalive me. Clark also testified about an earlier instance in which she was allegedly held against her will. Later that first year, Clark testified associates of Combs locked her into a dilapidated and locked building in Midtown Manhattan for 5 days in order to subject her to many lie detector tests. 5 days. Okay, so this is still where more kidnapping, which goes to continue to bolster the RICO claim. The alleged incident occurred after the disappearance of 3 pieces of high-end diamond jewelry that had been loaned to Combs and which Clark had been entrusted to look after. The man testing her, Clark alleged, repeatedly told her she would be thrown into the East River if she failed. Clark said she endured the testing to prove her innocence. I was petrified, she said. One of Combs' security employees allegedly took her home each night and also searched her apartment for the missing jewelry. The tests were repeatedly inconclusive, and she was fired for 3 to 4 weeks, after which she was rehired to work on Combs' 35th birthday party. She said Combs never mentioned the missing diamonds to her again, nor did he question her about where she had been during those 5 days she was absent from the office during the time she was allegedly held for the lie detector tests. So she left in 2006 after Combs allegedly pushed her repeatedly to take a job at another record group, Jive and Zomba, but that she had eventually returned. She was fired in early 2012 after reporting the alleged 2011 kidnapping to executives at Bad Boy Records, the recording label co-founded by Combs. She was told it was due to an improperly taken vacation, and she had testified that Combs told her that she would never work again. She later received a settlement for Combs over the accusations over the wrongful termination. Combs' defense team repeatedly objected to prosecutorial questions over the amount of the settlement, which was sustained. During cross-examination, Combs' attorney Mark Agnifilo repeatedly targeted inconsistencies in Clark's accounts, including a previous claim to prosecutors that Combs had allegedly pointed the pew-pew at her in 2011. From the stand, Clark said that instead Combs had been waving it around. Agnifilo also asked Clark why she had returned to work for Combs repeatedly, given her allegations. She said that it was because she had been unable to get hired for any other job in the music industry. Her last position in Combs' employ, she said, was as Ventura's creative director in 2016. She said that every decision related to Ventura, from her hair and her clothing to her schedule, had to be personally approved by Combs. So the thing about this is, this sounds very similar to what Cassie was doing. Cassie would leave and come back. So it really does go to show that abuse victims can take any kind of, they can be any kind of relation to these types of people. It doesn't necessarily have to be a romantic relationship. And she kept coming back, and she kept, they were even saying that she had some kind of crush. At least that's what the defense was saying or trying to prove. Anyways, this is Capricorn Clark. Do you think that she has proven or helped to bolster the claims of a RICO? Join the conversation and let me know what you think.